All right, we're rolling. Hey guys, how are y'all doing? It's Chris from Chris Price Composition, and I have a question for you. What is the most dissonant interval? Now, some of you might say, oh, that's easy, that's the tritone. Which, yes, that sounds hideous in some spots, but have you considered the minor ninth? Now, you might think to yourself, minor ninth? What's that? Let me show you what that is. So take a note, harmonize it up a half step, that's already pretty crunchy right there, and now let's jump that harmonized note up an octave, and bam, we get an octave plus a half step. If you go an octave and then a little bit lower down a half step, it ain't terrible. I mean, it's a little bit weird, but it sounds gorgeous when used with extended harmony. Now, why is the minor ninth so bad? Listen to this amazing melody. Isn't that amazing? Now, let's harmonize it with minor ninths. Pretty spooky, am I right? Now, if you ever want to bug your friends, annoy them or anything, sit down at a piano, ask them what their favorite song is, and harmonize it in minor ninths. You'll have one less friend that day. Now, you may be wondering, why the heck is this so bad sounding? Well, it all has to do with ratios. We use equal temperament most of the time when talking about ratios of notes and the chromatic scale and everything, which is a whole nother video that I could get into some other time. But for now, let's talk as if we're using just temperament, which is where you use the harmonic series to come up with ratios. Oh, but Mr. Chris, isn't the harmonic series from calculus? Yes, it is 1 over x, because what we are doing is dividing the frequency by x being the partial or whatever you want to use. If you're on the guitar, it's just the harmonic you're using. If you're on the trumpet or trombone, it's the partial, and it gives us some really interesting ratios. That's why when we play taps, it's just a major chord but inverted. This right here is just intonation giving us this amazing, beautiful major chord. That's also why if you're ever inside an ensemble and the director says, oh, you have a major third right there, I want you to play a little bit flat. It's because you're trying to get closer to just intonation because it sounds better. And if you're playing a minor third, you'll go up a little bit. You'll be a little bit sharp, and it'll sound in just intonation, making it sound prettier and a little bit better. Now let's take a look at some amazing ratios. So we take 4 over 3. 4 over 3 is a perfect fourth. Listen to that. That sounds energetic. Sounds great. Makes you want to get up and dance. The da 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 da. Pass the gosh dang butter. Pass the gosh dang butter. Now this is really interesting because it sounds triumphant. It sounds great. Now, this doesn't always work with everything. I mean, for crying out loud, 3 against 2 sounds, like Carol of the Bells. But it doesn't sound like Carol of the Bells when you play those 2 notes together. Now, when we look at the ratio of a tritone, 45 over 32, we get this sound. Yeah, I can't really make out what's going on. Also, you have to slow down the tempo a lot. And it just sounds weird. Really weird. Now let's take the ratio of a minor ninth, 32 over 15. Again, can't really make out what's going on. Now, if I were to go up to somebody and say, which is the more dissonant sounding rhythm, they'd both say that they're dissonant. And it's true, they're both very dissonant. Just to our ears, when we speed it up a ton and play it as pitches, the minor ninth is pretty gross. But it has its uses, of course. There are a number of composers that would go ahead and use the minor ninth because they thought it was interesting. Bartók, for example, loved the minor ninth, and you can find it everywhere. Also, the minor ninth is the reason why you want to sharp the 11th when using dominant and major quality chords for extended harmony. Otherwise, the 3rd and the 11th would clash pretty badly. You might notice that in an ultra dominant, when you flat the 9th, it creates a minor ninth. That's good use for it. Of course, it's dissonance. Dissonance always likes to get resolved somehow, even if you build up more and more dissonance. So don't be afraid to use the minor ninth. It has its purposes, and I'm sure you can find ways to use it. I've used it in a couple ways, very dissonant ways, It's not recommended to just hammer on over and over unless you really want that effect. And when done by accident in really beautiful pieces, it can be a little bit jarring unless that's what you want to go for, but I highly don't recommend using it just willy-nilly. You definitely want to know why you're using it, when you're using it, and where it's going to lead. When composing, always think about the flow. Where's it going to go? Where's it going to stop? Where's it going to start? Anyways, thank you so much. If you have any questions, go ahead and leave them down in the comments. I'll hopefully clarify anything that I might have missed or just skipped over a little bit. Also suggest some other topics. I would love to talk about other things. Anyways, I hope to see you all in the next video. Adios.